I've done videos where the first few seconds is fuzzy, and that's not a good first impression. So we'll just let it go for a few seconds, right? I think we're on now. So I'll get the cat all set. Okay, happy boy. Happy boy. Happy boy. Oh, I didn't even discuss signing a memorandum of understanding and ownership of intellectual property rights for this video. Asma says I should do that with every guest, but I guess we will talk about that later, right? Okay.
Yep. I usually tell my guests whatever I record, they're free to have, and they can share any way that they want.
Oh yeah, I'd say the same thing. Okay, well, Happy's still here. Okay, I'll officially begin. We'll edit this out. So here we go. This is it. The Dean is welcoming you to University Galactus on February the 28th, 2024. My guest is Devin. He's an interfaith minister with the Christ Love and Light Center in Kentucky. And today we're going to talk about cosmological perspective from a Buddhist view as well as from the view of a follower of Christ. So welcome, Devin.
Ryan, I appreciate you having me on this morning. I've been watching your show for a little bit, and so I think we actually ran into each other. I was maybe making some comments on some of your videos.
Yeah, I forget which one it was, and you're talking about the gray aliens. You're saying, well, Brian, you don't have it quite right about the gray aliens, right? And then we were back and forth, and then you filmed Panabasa instead of me, my buddy Panabasa in South Carolina.
Yeah, no, Spirit had told me it's like Panabasa's first, but like, be honest with you, Spirit old lady told me like you were next on my radar. I didn't. I think Panabasa and I actually. You and I talked a little bit off camera about a past life I've got as a Buddhist. And actually, I believe that Panabasa ties into that life. So.
Yeah, it does make sense to me. You talk to him. He's obviously a spiritual teacher, 30 years as a monk, and you are, and I'm a talk show host. So it kind of makes sense that I'm the dean of University Galactus, excuse me. So, yeah, it makes sense. So I forgive you for talking to my buddy first for me. I'm not hurt.
Yeah, it's just weird. And I think I might have reached out to you at about the same time, so that's just the way it played out, brother. You know.
Yeah. So I could talk about a Buddhist cosmological perspective of cosmology with devas, extraterrestrials, UFOs, and orbs, or you could go first as a follower of Christ. You want to go first?
Well, you know, it depends on what direction you want to go. If we wanted to look
first, your introduction. We should give the audience these 5 minutes. What's your background? Who the hell are you? You're in Kentucky? Let's give 5 minutes on your background.
Well, so, you know, I've been a seer approximately my entire life. So at some of my earliest ages growing up, you know, I was having conversations with Christ in meditation. I had actually had Christ introduce me to a Buddha in meditation and had a brief conversation with that Buddha. I've always known at a very, very young age that I've got many past lives. I was seeing many of my past lives. As a young child, I had a technique where I could stare in somebody's eyes for a few minutes, and I'd normally begin to start to see a lot of their past lives. And I use that in a technique now as a healer and a shaman and a minister, something I call Akashic Faces. But basically, you know, I've seen through the veil since I was a small child. I put a lot of that stuff away at a fairly young age because a lot of people it doesn't make sense to. And you know, if you're at church one Sunday and the minister says, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way to get to the Father is but through me."
That's right. You know, it's the only way. The only way to get to the Father is through Jesus.
Well, you know, that whole line, of course, I know as an adult has been greatly twisted. But as a child, you know, when I asked the minister, I said, you know, so does that mean little Buddhist children and little, you know, children that are Indian out in the middle of the jungle, right, who would never have a chance to even, you know, get to know Jesus? Does that mean they don't get into heaven? And Of course, that's right.
I don't know. I have to get my calculator out to figure that. So you said little kids in India, you said?
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of people. I know.
Maybe it adds up. I don't know. Maybe it adds up. We'll see.
Well, to me, that really upset me as a small child, right? Well, when I went home and later on that evening was sitting quietly, if you will, in my bed, and, you're looking back now, it's just a child sitting in meditation, basically. No one ever trained me to do that. But, it wasn't the first time, but all of a sudden, here comes Jesus in my third eye. And I'm having a conversation with him, basically tell him, hey, I'm a little pissed off that, just because these kids didn't come to know you, that, they're not going to be able to, be in heaven. And all I can tell you, Brian, as a little kid, when I would see Christ, there was always an energetic exchange of information. And so basically the gist of what he was telling me was that there's truth in what I've told you, but it's been twisted. And then basically, all my hand to God, Jesus introduces me to Buddha. Now, of course, I'm going to back up. Right before he introduces me to Buddha, he says, do you believe that little Buddhist children would follow the same 10 basic commandments that you understand?
Sure, they do.
Well, sure. I mean, come on. The 10 basic commands should only be like a foundational starting point. Let's be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, yeah, that made sense that they would follow those same basic things. And then, so I phase out Christ's face, right? And I see what I understand to be Buddha. Now it's a very emaciated Buddha, so it's not the big plump smiley one, but I mean, I recognize it as a Buddha. And that Buddha then shows me little Buddhist children in heaven. And then phase back in my third eye vision, I see Christ again. And again, he repeats, there's truth in what I've told you and what you've read or what you're hearing, but he basically tells me it's been twisted and it's not accurate. So as a little kid, right, I didn't have to understand the bigger picture. I just understood I could go back and play and be happy again because I knew that little Buddhist children and little Indian kids were going to make it into heaven just like I could.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And we certainly have a heaven in Buddhist cosmology. You've got 6 of them in the central sphere. So choose your heaven.
Yeah. Now let's fast forward maybe a little bit, because I've seen the hand of God, in, if I'm honest, in every aspect of my life. And without the Creator literally almost orchestrating everything I see in my life, like, I just don't understand how people have an existence without that. But so I wasn't a great high school student, but I did get accepted into a university. Now, my father, who signed me up for classes, he was a poor dirt farmer, and I don't think he even had his own shoes until he was 18. So he never went to college, right? Well, he was signing me up for college, and we didn't know that 600 level meant master level class. Well, Brian, my very first psychology class was a master's level behavioral therapy class.
So where was that and what year?
That was University of Southern Indiana. That's in Evansville, Indiana. Now, I ended up graduating from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. And that was December 98 is when I graduated Ball State.
Well, you're a young man, 1998. I graduated from high school in 1978, so I must be better than you and smarter than you.
I graduated high school in 91. High school in 91.
I graduated in 1977. But in 1978, we had grade 13 in Ontario at that time. So it's called an honors graduation diploma. Even all it means is I had a C average of grade 13. So carry on, Devin.
But at any rate, I was taking that class, and the teacher, somehow, realized I really wasn't supposed to be there. And so the teacher said, hey, Devin, what are you doing here? Hey, I'm here to learn, teach, right? And she told me, no, wait a minute, you don't have Psych 101, you don't have Psych 201, you don't have the prereq that we like to have for this class. She said, I have to fail about 70% of this class every year. Told me a bunch of other stuff. And basically, all of a sudden, I heard what I call the voice of God. And the voice of God came in and said, Devin, I'm going to be using you in this field. And then he said, your teacher's about ready to say this, and this.
I have a question, though.
Yep.
We're almost done our 5 minutes on introduction before we talk about cosmology. Anything else you want to say in your introduction from then until now?
let's go back to the introduction then, Brian. You're going to edit, right?
Sure, I can edit. I thought you were going to edit this. No, I'm happy to edit it.
No, I don't have any. No, as soon as you started running off to get coffee with the cat, I took editing off my plate because I don't have an editor over here.
I promise I'll edit it or get someone else to edit. Maybe Barry will edit it. Sure, okay, I'll edit it. So don't worry. Anything after the fact, we can edit it out. Oh, this is cool. So yeah, I just want to finish your introduction and then we can talk about cosmology.
Let's do a different introduction.
Okay, what would you like to do?
Well, we're gonna have to short it up.
I can easily edit. So people will not even know that it was edited. I could be right in between sentences. I'm so smooth.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of hard edits, Brian.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, just carry on with your introduction and we'll edit it. So just carry on. But we thought we'd do about a 5-minute introduction because we want to talk about what interests the audience. You know, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that voice of God though that I heard, right, and I mentioned how I've seemed to have the Creator's hand and influence in almost every aspect of my life. At least I can recognize it. You know, I heard, no, I'm going to be using you in this field. Basically, the teacher's going about ready to say some things. And the teacher said, hey, there's only 100 and some behavior clinicians in all the state of Indiana. You know, nobody really gets a job in this field. It's nice to study if you're in the field, but, you know, don't expect to get a job. And everything that she said, I was told in advance that she was going to say. So
Wow,
fast forwarding to me graduating, but breaking all, you know, there's no way that I should have played the lottery because, you know, there's no way I could have been so fortunate. But anyways, long story short, I'm sitting in a psych position that I took after graduating college, and a doctor that was working in that building had seen some of my work and came down to my office one day and said, you know, hey, you know, you're really good at your behavioral therapy stuff, but, you know, all you do here is put out fires all day, which was true because I had about 175 patients at this institution.
Well, what year was that?
This would have been like 99, 2000. Okay. And so he right then and there, he offered me a job and he said, no, I need to make sure you've read this book and this book. And for whatever reason, Spirit had me keep those books, the only books I didn't sell back for beer money in college. And I actually had those in my drawer and I pulled them out and I said, you mean this book and this book, right? And
well, actually, when I want to ask you a question, instead of interrupting, I'll go like this. Sometimes I'll go like this for emphasize. I'll go like this. So I was going to say, can we jump ahead around 2010? We're still doing your introduction.
Yeah. Well, that's important, Brian. It's all part of the introduction.
Okay.
Okay.
No, so, you know better than me. You know yourself better than me if it's important.
Well, I'm also just trying to lead what Spirit has me bring out.
Okay, that's fair enough, and it's good to we're lucky even in this decade to have these tools where you're in Kentucky, I'm in Vancouver, Canada, we can have this kind of intimate conversation. Even 10 years ago, we had Skype 10 years ago, but 30 years ago, this would be hard to do. Yeah. So what happened after, say, around 2010? Where were you at?
Well, 2010, to be honest with you, isn't all that eventful. I had left the behavioral psych field in 2004, even though I was making close to $100 an hour.
$100 an hour. I'm not worthy to speak to you. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Well, you know. I probably wasn't worthy to be paid that much, but, you know, that's what the job paid. So,
hey, let's talk about our feelings of unworthiness. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, at any rate, I didn't stay in that field forever because I realized there's a ton of fraudulent stuff in not behavioral psychology, but in the field of psychology. The diagnostic system is completely fraudulent.
Really? Really? Fraudulent? But these people are doctors and degrees. Fraudulent?
Yeah, it's hocus pocus. It's witchcraft. That's what it is.
Okay, so moving up to the year 2020, and now.
So yeah, well, yeah, back probably around 2007, I just kept getting a yearning and a calling. You know, I was trying to go back to different churches, but I never fed in at any different church, and so 2007, I literally would just sort of go on what I was calling spiritual treks. I would take a vacation on the purpose of just going on the road, getting in my car and almost going aimlessly, not having a destination picked out a lot of times, and just sort of allowing spirit to guide me. And I felt like 2007 was almost like the beginning, although I knew as a young age that I came here, a lot of what I came here for. But around 2007, something happened, and it was almost like a light switch was kind of turned on. But it was 2016, 2017, when I started to have a lot of contact with not only Bigfoot, but UFOs.
So your ministry now, did your ministry now start around 2016?
Ministry actually started technically, I became ordained minister because I was baptizing somebody one day, and Jesus came into my ear and said, "Someone's going to question your authority."
So what year was that?
That was like 2016.
So in the last 8 years, where are you at now then?
As far as a minister? Well, I like, a lot of people will, when they hear I'm a minister around here, right, you notice they stand up straight and they try to, make sure everything looks, and I remind people.
Well, hey, maybe I should do that. I've been a lay Buddhist minister since 1996. So I say, hey, I'm a lay Buddhist minister. You should stand up. Do up your top button.
But you know how everybody, if you say you're a minister, everyone always sudden starts to watch their P's and Q's, and they stop cussing and they watch what they say. And I just remind people that, listen, there's no Maha Avatar Babaji has a great saying, and he said, there is no sinner, there's no saint without a past, and no sinner without a future. So
How do you know so much about me and my family?
Isn't that everybody?
So should we talk about what's your cosmological worldview? There's a question. What is your cosmological? What's above your head in the sky? What is it?
Well, I mean, Brian, is it really above my head in the sky?
Well, it's another dimension. It's another dimension.
Well, come on now. Now, if we listen to what any of the masters say, and Christ included, Christ reminded his own followers that heaven is closer than the tip of your nose. Well, it's closer.
Did he? I've read all of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but it's more than a year ago. I think I forgot that line.
Yeah. So if heaven is closer than the end of your nose, then where is heaven?
Okay, let's start from there. So what's your cosmological worldview, Devin, at the Christ Light and Love Center in Kentucky?
Well, that's a big one again.
I mean, got lots of time. We have basically an hour and a quarter, we realize today, because at 1 o'clock your time, we got plans, and it's 10 a.m. my time now. It's about noon your time. So we'll start with the big open-end question.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to narrow it down a little bit for a traumatic brain injury survivor here, because I'll be going.
Okay. Right. I can narrow it down. I'll compare it to, there's the 6 heavens of Buddhist cosmology, but also relating this to the University Galactic. So one phrase from the Buddha, he stated in the Attanata Protection Sutra, he said, cars fit for gods they have as well. That one sentence. So gods is a term in Buddhism which doesn't mean God, Christian God. It means small g God means angels, devas.
Well,
car is the vehicle that the extraterrestrials flying around in the UFO. So what do you think of that?
In my Father's house, there are many rooms. If it wasn't true, I wouldn't have told you so. So is heaven one place? No, I don't believe so. I believe heaven is multi-dimensions. Is there one hell? No, I don't believe there's actually hell. That's more of a Dante's Inferno type creation. Now, do I believe that you can go about your life and do wrong things to other people and not honor the basic, do unto other credo? No. At the end of your life, if you're violating universal law and other people's free will, you will have to sit in front of what I believe is a council of elders. You will be shown your life. You will have to experience every bad thing that you have done to another person. And then at that point in time, I don't see there a place called hell, but let's say you were a really greedy person when you died, right? Well, you're going to just go and gravitate where all those other greedy people are. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but how does that relate to
now,
cars that have fit for gods as well? Like the Buddha is saying that these angels fly around in vehicles. Do you think angels fly around in vehicles?
well, hold on. So in my father's house, there's many rooms of what. So let's cover what's below us first, and then we can go what's above us, right?
Yeah. We have a hell in Buddhism. We have several hells below us.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that before. I mean, I believe you probably you go to where you resonate when you die. Although,
Yep, it's true.
you know, I believe that at any given point in time, you can go and hang out with the creator before you reincarnate. Now, that can be 1 second, which can seem like an entire lifetime to you. And so, you know, at any point in time, you know, if you say you're sorry, you ask for repentance for what you've done, you can move from maybe that lower dimension when you die, and then you can move up and then reincarnate and beyond, you know, back on your way. Now, if you want to get to the ship part, yes, I have seen physical ships, more than one. I have seen ships, though, that could only be described as an energy. Do I believe that all ET have to come from some far away place to get here? No, I don't.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
Now, do I believe now? Do they live somewhere else, or do they live right next to us? Right. If we think of the idea of that, the dimensions are right here among us. We're just experiencing a certain wavelength or a light pattern, and that's why we experience the 3D.
Yeah, but right next to me is my cat. You said right next to me. I was looking 7 feet to my left. So right next to me, they live in the presence of my cat, Happy Cat. It's 1 year old.
He's sleepy.
Yeah. He can't hear you talk because he got earbuds, so feel free to talk loud.
But
just fell out.
You know, I know a lot of people who want to keep like the craft on some like 3D level, right? And break down to like the physical aspects of it or where they come from. But it's just been my experience that, like, I don't know how important that's been to my own experiencing different crafts and different beings. But I mean, I know that we've got, you know, if you've got craft that are physical that I've seen, I mean, well, they have to at some point in time, if they're coming from another dimension, they have to at least have some technology where they can come down in a 3D form, or maybe quite possibly they've got some sort of, you know, interdimensional travel on that ship. And so maybe they can jump back to the Pleiades or back to the Orion or wherever.
How long does it take to get to the like Betelgeuse is the top left star in Orion, Betelgeuse. So how long does it take to get to Orion when you jump?
It would be instantaneous, I imagine.
That's pretty quick.
Well, have you ever experienced, Brian, have you ever experienced your own skip in time, or have you ever walked through a wormhole yourself?
No, not through a worm skipping time. I don't think so. Don't think so.
I have.
What's it like?
Discombobulating. It's weird. I never intended for it to happen each time it's happened, but I know that. So, but let's back up maybe. Like, I just look at my own experience and having these weird space and time shifts where one of them was like a Groundhog Day. And if anybody wants to watch my video on that, you can go to my channel, and I've got it's called Wormhole Skip in Time. And I talk about
Bill Murray. Watch Bill Murray's video on Groundhog Day. What a movie that was, eh?
Well, my experience wasn't too far of that, but it was only a 1 mile marker of the road that I repeated 3 times in my truck. But I believe, like, if we look at like if I look at my own experience there, and I know that my body has somehow traversed space and time that I can't explain, well, then I'm sure they understand probably these natural occurrences, which I believe I experienced, but they also, I'm sure, have high-tech abilities to be able to, you know, simply, you know, so, maybe create.
So what's the nature of them? Like, what is their nature that happens to them?
Well, I guess I don't. What do you mean there? Well, let's back up maybe to, I think one of the biggest misnomers out there is that if you're an ET, you happen to be benevolent and you're enlightened. And I don't think that's true at all. Not been in my experience. Now, I know a lot of Christians, right, want to say that anything that's in the sky or anything that is a craft is demonic. And that's not been my experience either. Now,
well, let's talk about that. I've had comments from 37 Christians on my BitChute channel. I've had 50,000 comments since 2017. And they say it's demonic. They say all these UFOs are demonic. It's all demonic. It's all satanic. What do you think of that?
Well, remember, first off, Brian, most of the comments like that are bots. They're not real people. Yes,
well,
yes.
I think they must be real people because they're different sentences. There's different sentences.
Trust me, I see that all the time. They attack me the same way with my stuff I'm giving out.
But how can a bot make references to me? And
I'll send you a link, brother. 99% of what's on Facebook, 99% of what's on Facebook, it's not real people. They are bots. 99% of what people see on Facebook are not real pages. They are AI created.
So I've been responding to bots, writing all these comments for hours, responding, but I feel like a fool.
You have to almost do it just for the people that don't understand you're being attacked by a bot. But
yeah. Okay, aside from bots, what's the nature of these? Angels or devas? You're talking about angels, right? What's their nature then?
But let's back it up though. So I know that a lot of people though, and agree. Like I know a lot of my neighbors are out here in rural Kentucky. If I start talking about ET and UFOs, they will go to that demonic thing because somewhere that has been programmed in a lot of these Christian.
Well, that's important. That's important. Christians in Kentucky, what percentage of 51% think it's demonic? Think it's 51%?
No, I wouldn't say that much, but you can
20%. 20%.
Maybe.
Okay, that's significant, right? We were trying to get a demographics in the earliest 20th century, because in the 22nd century, people will be watching this video and they're thinking in the early 21st century, that's what people thought in the United States?
Well, it's unfortunately, Brian, it's what the controlled narrative is trying to push out. So, that's the way I see it, because my background is behavioral therapist, right? Behavioral psychology. If I was really good at what I did, so I got recruited to work in the field. But if you're really good at what you do, you usually get recruited by the CIA with my background. Okay, so like I can see why they would want to put that narrative out, because they have their controlled religion already, and God forbid that no one reaches outside or has contact like I've had, which is not defined in your King James, because if they can't keep you in that narrative, right, they can pull you out of there. Well, then they've lost you. So that's why
I've got the King James right here. Like people have told me various things about the King James, but I have the New International Version Bible as well. Which would you recommend?
No, I don't. Well, I'd actually go pre King James. There is a Bible actually that is pre King James that doesn't have all of the books taken out, doesn't have all of his edits.
But I'm saying, can your average American go on Amazon and get that?
Yeah, there is a name for it. I can't think what it is, but
But if your average American cannot go on Amazon and get that, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about something the common man can get their hands on.
Well, those are the lost books.
Can they get them on Amazon?
You can download them free.
Oh, wow. That's even better.
Yeah. So no, they can find it.
Okay, so how does that relate to angels then?
Well, let's go back. We need to go back, Brian. We're jumping around here. We need to go back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I jump around too much. I'm such a scatterbrain. I'm sorry.
Because there is a controlled narrative out there that not just with the Christians, but I see it with every religion, that they're saying that anything from outside that's coming in the firmament, right, is demonic. Okay.
Now tell me about the firmament.
No, we're getting off track.
The world is spherical, right? And there's outer space between here and the end of the galaxy. There's no firmament, is there?
I'm not here to argue that. That's not the point.
Okay.
You're pulling me from what you just asked me.
Okay.
So no, I'm not here to argue firmament, and that's just going to get more trolls on your page, anyways. No,
I got lots of trolls on my page talking about the firmament already.
So it's just that I want to point out that there is a controlled narrative out there saying that everything that comes from the sky is demonic. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, any of the Christians listening, I want you to go ahead and I want you to open up to 2 Kings 2:11. And I want you to read the story of Elijah and his chariot of fire.
Keep talking. I have Kings right here, so keep talking.
But in 2 Kings 2:11, right, we hear the story of Elijah going up to a chariot and going up to heaven on a chariot of fire. Now, I know that Christian theologians will typically say that anytime we see fire represented in the Bible, it is God basically showing himself. So we've got the burning bush, we've got the chariots of fire. But as a child, when I heard that story and I read that story, it was my humble opinion that, why didn't whoever write 2 Kings just call it a craft or call it a UFO? But I'm sure at the time that they experienced this, that, your reference point, if you've got something that carries people around, well, that's a chariot. Yep.
I'm sorry. My King James Bible is really big, so it's probably not on the shelf. I might have it somewhere else, but this is a new international version of the Bible. Maybe. Oh, I think I've got King James. Sorry, it's on the other shelf. Keep talking. You didn't keep talking. No, here it is. Is that it? Woo! It's called the Holy Bible, a facsimile of the Pen Royal Caxton edition of the King James Bible is illustrated by Barry Moser. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
You know how it is with virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, no, it's come in and out. I got you.
Yeah, keep talking.
But no, so going back to that chariot of fire that's in your own Bible. But if we also go back, if you want to say that there's not been any contact even throughout our own history and throughout our own biblical history, we also have to go back and look at part of the Bible where God comes out of the firmament, is crafty, destroys an entire city. Now, I think if we look at those two stories and we contrast them, we see good aliens and we see bad aliens, or good ETs and bad ETs. And of course, if you remember in your Bible, a lot of times Christians want to argue that everything that comes from the sky is demonic, or that's in a craft is demonic. But the Bible reminds us that only, it says 1/3 of God's angel army fell, not the complete angel army. So if only 1/3.
Well, how much was it? Like a half of the angel army?
Well, of course, we said it said 1/3. Well, 1/3 to me, I'm not going to argue numbers or semantics, but 1/3 to me means not the entirety, right?
Well, when you say this angel army, you're talking about angels. In Buddhism, we call them devas. D-E-V-A is a deva. Yeah. That's just a translation of the word that means angel. So you're talking about angels, right?
Yeah. Well, but again, when you're talking about angel, what is that?
Well, specifically, it's like a ghost, but the Buddha said a ghost is an afflicted spirit, meaning not happy, right? So a deva is a happy being. That's basically, it's like a ghost, but it's on a happier plane.
Yeah,
specifically, that's to your question.
I have a different definition of angel anymore.
You have a different definition than Buddha, so I'm very upset. We're right and you're wrong, I guess.
Well, this is just my rubber meets the road definition, right?
Okay, so, where's the rubber meet the road?
Well, I believe that an angel can come in human form.
Oh, thank you, Devin. Really, I'm just a mere human being, honest. I was Brian Ruhe 10 years ago. I'll be Brian Ruhe 10 years from now. If I'm still alive, I guess so. I have Tourette syndrome. I'm just...
I have to preface that, Brian. You have to be in full service and give freely of all your gifts that you've been given and not ask anything of it to be even considered that angel. But
I was making about $40 an hour actually teaching Buddhism night school for a 2-hour period. I didn't give freely.
Any rate, right? So, for example, God can use a healer. God can tell a healer, go to someone and speak to them and heal them. And if that person doesn't operate out of wanting anything from that other than to follow spirit, then to me, that's angelic. Okay.
Well, I want to pay my rent at the time, actually. That's what I wanted.
Well, we're not in heaven on earth yet, so we still have to make money and we still have to pay bills.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. but no,
I get
so
it.
so I believe that there are angels here on this earth, and they could be called. Some even might call them, well, a lot of Christians aren't going to like me, but I've had interactions with Bigfoot that I could call nothing but angelic.
Well, Bigfoot, could I comment on Bigfoot? The Buddha called Bigfoot a Yaka, Y-A-K-K-A, said it's a lower dimensional deva in the first heaven central sphere, and it's not a happy being. It's not a happy rebirth. So they're problematic. They can kill you. They're dangerous, these Bigfoots.
Yeah,
Watch it. They're dangerous.
I would say that whoever created that rule did not understand both of the. I do believe there are nasty Bigfoot, but no, I've had experience with completely benevolent Bigfoot. So
Yeah, the Buddha had experiences, like he gave a talk. 2 companies of Yakas Bigfoots, and these 500 Yakas transformed into stream enters, the first stage of sainthood after the Buddha's discourse. So those are good Bigfoots.
But there's
Big
also,
feet,
you can go back into, Brian, you can go back into, Native American folklore, and they tell tale of no good ones and bad ones. So
do they? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So my experience though has been with very benevolent ones. Now, I've had experience though with okay, so this is where a lot of Christians, like, they'll turn off the channel. Yes, angels can come on a physical craft. And again, based on my definition that I just gave you, right, that an angel is any being that truly is giving without asking anything in return.
So
okay?
what's the physical craft? My theory is they come from physical crafts, which are in home bases, a mothership like this one. It's 200 miles across. It's 400 miles above the earth. So these ships you're talking about, they go to a mothership. They don't make sorties from a tenth of way across the galaxy. They're just going 600 miles up or forward to this. That's where they're coming from. This is real, physical, 200 miles across. It's been known since 1953, and it's real.
I think that's convenient. I think that's a convenient way to explain all the hundreds of ships I've seen, but I don't think that's the truth.
But why could it be true?
So you're telling me the Merkabas I've seen and these ships that are energetic, you're telling me they got to return to that thing? I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
Well, there could be up to 6 of these. Like Dolly Saffron says, there's up to 6 of these at a time. They move around, right? They're not in geosynchronous orbit.
I'm not saying there aren't motherships, Brian. I guess I'm saying, like, I don't understand what the importance of it really is. I mean,
it's like Noah's Ark. Is Noah's Ark important to you?
Well, Noah's Ark is a story. What does that really even mean?
This is literally Noah's Ark. It came here whoops, we got cut off.
No, I'm still here.
Hey, no, when I said this is literally Noah's Ark, the screen went black. So that means something, folks. Therefore, that really is literally Noah's Ark from 6,000 years ago. Literally, that is Noah's Ark. Physically, literally, I'm making that statement. Literally. Brain Ruhe said that on February 28, 2024, and you heard it. Right, Devin?
Yeah, I'll call you on that, because any of the stuff I talk about, I don't.
Did you see the screen go blank when I said that? Did you see that?
It wasn't blank on my end.
Well, I swear on my mother's grave, ashes, actually, the screen went blank when I said that. I'll swear to my last dying breath, my last hour of death.
So, Brian, let me ask you a question. Brian,
yes.
Let me ask you a question. Because this is where we separate. Because I've had experience with Mantis. I've had experience with Greys, and none of them are good.
Well, let's hear about that. I guess I'll listen to people who disagree with me. Maybe. Okay, I'll listen to you.
Let me ask you a question. Who's aboard the ship?
Mantids are the leaders of the operation. More than one, several Mantids. I don't know how many, but Mantids are clearly in a leadership position, and they give their instructions to the tall Greys, and the ancient Greys are much revered.
You've been listening to that Simon Parks MI6 guy?
No, I'll show you. Susie Hansen, I got her book right here. It's usually very close by. I've been listening to her, and she states this in The Dual Soul Connection, available on Amazon, published in 2014 and republished in 2016.
Is she? That looks like a Grey in the picture too, right?
Yeah, and she's part Grey herself. This is her. So it's called The Dual Soul Connection, the Alien Agenda for Human Advancement. Really, probably the best book I've read in 5 years. It's about 300 some odd pages.
FYI, everybody, if it's gray, you just stay away. That's my rule.
How many? Where's the page numbers on here? Okay, it's about 300 pages. Well, I would say you're correct to stay away from some grays. Susie stated that the grays told her that there's an interloper species of grays. So those are the ones to avoid, but most of them are okay. What do you think?
Not been my experience. And let me share a story. I just met a woman just a few days ago. She's had contact her whole life, like a lot of us have. And she said, yes, recently I began to have contact with the grays. And somebody else told her, not me, that be careful with them. Well, she finally came forward and said, no, they're tricksters, they're liars, they're deceivers. That's the general theme of the grays. Now,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that about 0.7 of 1% of the grays. But Jeff Silver more recently in his lifetime has had a relationship with grays in person up to 2016. This is his new edition of his book called The Rising, The Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened Society.
Did I come on here for you to promote an agenda?
Oh, sorry.
I
Harry,
feel like
you're the guest.
I feel like I'm promoting
the
your
dean
agenda.
Apologizes. The dean is so powerful in his role and yet humble at the same time.
You see, everybody, today was supposed to be Brian coming on my show, and I was going to let him speak his truth. But see, he wants to talk over me on this one. So I guess I'll let him explain to everybody how the universe works. We'll just sit back and listen. No,
okay. See, I talk over my guests. I apologize, Devin.
I do too, Brian. But, if you ask a guest a question, you've got to let him finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
But, I'm not, this is the only reason, I'll be honest, why I wanted you on my show. Not the only reason, but because a lot of what you've got in your website is information that I was given and other people I know were given from beings that were not of this world. Now,
do you mean my BitChute channel, the Brain Ruhe website? Do you mean my BitChute channel?
Well, it's a collect, not so much your channel, but the website that you had me go to.
brainruhe.ca. Brainruhe.ca.
Yeah. Now, a lot of what I've read on there, right, is in general the message that, and I and other people I know have been given, but where you and I separate is where you kind of said, well, you've even said in one of your own videos, I don't serve humanity. I serve the Mantis agenda.
Well, thank you for listening to my video. Thank you.
What the hell? Let me say, what the hell? Because wait a minute, if they're in here for us, if they're supposed to be here to help us and save us, then isn't it the human agenda? Why would it be one particular being's agenda? I don't understand that.
Well, I can answer that.
But let me go back one. So, and again, another video that I encourage you to watch on my channel is I've seen some of these beings before. And one time I saw a being that was a half mantis or mantid and a half reptilian. And so I know our friend Panabasa, right? He asked me to come on your show because he said, wait a minute.
He's my friend. Is he your friend? I've done 400 videos with him. He really is my friend. Is he your friend? He's only met you once, right?
He's an acquaintance. What's a friend? He's an acquaintance.
Well, he's my friend. He's my teacher as well.
So, but my thing is that he laughed about was kind of that. Well, Devin, you're saying that the Greys are working with the reptilians, and I said, yeah. Every time that I've seen these beings, they come hand in hand. So, I don't know, man. It's like I know that there's not. This has been my humble experience, right? You know that big ship that's been behind you?
Yeah.
I think some of us have been on that ship, but I think that.
I agree. I'm not going to comment on myself, but I agree with that.
No, I've had dreams I know that aren't dreams, and I know other people that have had the same dreams. And they go to a ship that is off-world. We go in our astral body, and we sit among a table. And if you ask the other people who've had the same dream that I've had, there are some humans that are among the table, but mostly it is races of all types of ETs, all types. Stuff I wouldn't have even imagined before. So
I agree. I agree with that. From what I've studied and all the YouTube videos I've studied, because I'm a MIC expert. I watch YouTube videos that makes me a MIC expert since 2006.
But so But so for me, when I hear anybody say like one particular race, not just you, but anybody else say that one particular race is here to save us, I'm like, well, that's not been my experience. My experience has been that when I was aboard that ship behind you in a dream, right? That no, there's many, many entities that and beings that have come back to assist us in this ascension process. Okay.
Yes.
Now, with that, is there one that's in control? No, because I mean, that goes. This is the thing. How did we get screwed up and where we are as a civilization right now? We gave away our control and our power authority over to one person or group of people. So you're meaning to tell me that as long as I give my power and authority away to the Greys and Mantis, everything's going to be fine. I've heard that.
I'm quoting Susie Hansen. Can I quote her almost verbatim? She said, the aliens aren't going to save us. We have to save ourselves.
That's true.
But with the three waves of souls coming in, she's describing a process where they are actually making quite a big difference behind the scenes, but it has to look like we're saving ourselves, just to paraphrase. So she's not saying give yourself over to the Mantis. She would deny that.
Well, but I'm just saying that why would I, Brian, are we pushing her book?
No. Well, yeah, yes, no. I'm just saying. I'm just giving my sources. I'm showing my sources. A scholar shows his sources. That is a scholarly thing to do. You show your sources.
Okay. Well, I don't. My source is my experience. So you can take.
But your experience is not as good as something you can verify with 100 other experiencers. I mean, you can
with a book.
No, I'm saying the Conscious and Contact Research Institute. They surveyed 4,000 experiencers. So we have a survey of 4,000 experiencers.
Right. This is what's important. Your audience right now, if they have any discernment, if they're psychic at all, which we are all moving to that place, they're going to hear that everything is coming from my heart. Okay. And so they're going to know that what I'm saying is true. You yourself, if you've got any discernment, will be able to pick up what I'm saying is either from the heart or I'm full of shit. Now,
I think it's from the heart, but we all make mistakes.
Well, past that, you have to ask yourself, what agenda would I have? What am I selling? Not selling anything. I can't. A lot of people will say, oh, well, Devin, you're a shaman. Yeah, but unless you come here, I don't do anything online. I've got a retreat center, but unless you got a tent, I don't have some place for you to stay. So I'm not making any money with what I'm presenting. Now, I'm also not.
I'll tell you what, I'll cut you in for half of 1% of the profits of this video. Do you want it? Half of 1% profits?
Hold on. I'm also, so I don't have any skin in the game, if you will. I'm also not, my story and my take on this is what I give you is my perspective. Now, I don't tell you I'm the ultimate authority, and what I say is God's honest truth. Because anybody in this field that does that, I think there's a problem. There's something going on. Either it's about their ego, it's about their agenda, it's whatever they got going on. Now, how do we understand this big picture of ET and aliens and Jesus and Buddha? And because, brother, it all comes together. I'm telling you, it does. In my experience, it all comes together into one big humble pie. Well, how do we explore this and expand on what it is? We don't give our authority over to one person anymore. We have people who are from the heart to come together and say, this is my experience. No, I'm not telling. Now, I have a good idea, a lot of the things I've experienced, the bigger picture and what they mean. But even if I share that with you, I'm telling you, I'm just sharing an experience. If anybody comes and tells you they're an authority on ET, spirits, aliens, any of this stuff, they're full of shit. Or they have an agenda.
Yeah, I say we can't. I don't know anyone has actually told me to my face, I am an authority on the Greys.
Well, why would you be so sold that a Mantis and a Grey are in charge of all of this?
Well, because, keep talking, I just got to show you this. The answer to your question is because of the research done by this organization, the Conscious Contact Research Institute, formerly called FREE, the Foundations for Extraterrestrial Experience by Dr. Edgar Mitchell. So they surveyed over 4,000 people in several continents and 120 countries, and they correlated some very similar experiences, and about over 80% said they had positive experiences with ET. So that's called science. It's called evidence-based science.
Yeah,
You're speaking from an experience, which I respect.
So they interviewed people. Okay, I've interviewed people too. I've had experiences too. Every time I've had an experience with a gray, it's been nasty. Everybody that I know who has had experiences or even ongoing contact will eventually say, yeah, I got screwed. They're nasty beings.
Yeah, but that contradicts the Conscious Contact Research Institute's findings. Over 80% have positive experiences. So who am I supposed to believe?
No. You're saying that over 80% have positive experience, and you're saying you're wanting your audience to assume it's all gray and manted. That's not true.
Well, no, they don't claim it's all gray and manted, but a big percentage are gray.
But the way you're doing it is you're gaslighting it. You're gaslighting.
How am I gaslighting?
Because you're stating a fact of 80%, which is in a book that I've never read, but you're pairing it with the mantis and the grays.
The mantis are like the boss. You don't see them on the factory floor as much as the grays, right? Because they're higher up. People have not seen mantises as much as grays because mantises are higher.
Huh? Well, I mean, Brian, I'm not here to really argue that point with you.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not, because there's no point in that. If you're so sold, again, but no experience on your own, no personal experience on your own with the man.
What is my personal experience on my own? What is it you're referring to?
No, have you run into a gray?
Well,
because if you did, you know they stink. You know,
well, I can answer your question anytime you like. In the Theravada Buddhist tradition, we have a policy.
No. I asked if you yourself have an experience with the gray, not any other book, not.
Okay. I'll answer that. See, in the Theravada Buddhist tradition, we have a policy of not discussing any abilities to have above normal unless it's with a Buddhist monk, preferably over 10 years seniority. You do not discuss this with people who are not Buddhist monks. I'm
reincarnated Buddhist monk, so feel free.
Well, you're not in robes at this time.
Well, how can we have an honest conversation about that if you're going to that's weird.
We can't because the world cannot handle the truth. We should not have full UFO disclosure. We should not have an honest conversation.
Brian, I'm thinking that you drug me on here to push the mantis and the gray agenda. I don't know what else. I mean, why aren't we talking about the Pleiadians? Why aren't we talking about the lion beings? Why aren't we talking about the panther beings? Why aren't we talking about anything else? Why are we talking
remember, you and I talked for an hour and a half before we filmed. The audience doesn't know this. Remember, we said at the beginning, I said to you, we don't know which direction. So I didn't have an agenda, did I? I did not have an agenda, unless it was a hidden agenda.
Well, it appears.
I didn't plan what I was going to say. Did I plan what I was going to say?
I mean, I just think your audience is going to see that you're holding up a lot of her book. I mean,
well, that's true. I confess that is true.
Folks, I don't have a book. I'm not pushing a book. I don't have anything to sell. I just, I have my personal experience, and I thought that's why you were having me on, among other things, was to share that. Now, again, I told you that.
That's true. I had you on to share that. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really care to argue the point. I'm just here to say my personal experiences, the mantis and the grays and everyone else that I know would completely disagree with you. Now, these are personal experiences, not just reading a book, not taking somebody else's word for it.
Okay, let's record your personal experiences. I'll shut up. Let's record your personal experiences.
Brian, at this point, I'm not recording personal experiences with you because I don't get a feeling you're being an honest host.
How am I not being honest?
You're not being an honest host. You I don't get it.
Well, correct. I made a video. The screen went blank again. This is amazing. Wow.
The
screen is absolutely black right now. I hear you. I can't see a thing. What does it mean? I was just saying I'm not being honest. Holy smokes. So what I was going to say, which I probably shouldn't say it, I made a video.
No, Brian. The only way I would share any of my experiences with you is if I knew they were going to be unedited, and at this point, I don't know that, so I'm not going to share those.
Whatever you want. I said I could just you can you have the video on Skype, right? You can download it yourself.
Yeah, but I'm not going to edit the video. I've already told you that, and I do not want to put out an experience in which you're going to edit. I've already had people do that.
Okay, so what should I do with the video then?
Well, I'm not going to share experiences with you, and you're going to edit them. I'm sorry.
Okay, so what should we do now? We've been at it for less than an hour. What should we do now?
Well, I mean, this is my honest opinion. I mean, I think you're here to do the Gray Mantis thing, and you're going to edit this up to make me look like an idiot is probably what you'll do.
But is it possible for me to make you look like an idiot?
I mean, I already look like one a little bit, but yeah.
Well, I promise I won't edit it in a way to intend to make you look like an idiot. I promise you that.
Yeah, Brian, like at this point, like I was supposed to interview you. Now you're interviewing me, but you're really promoting your stuff. So I don't know. I don't see the point of this interview anymore.
You're correct. I'm promoting my stuff. So what should we do now with the interview?
I would say end it.
Okay, so folks, please like, subscribe, donate to University Galactus, and also your website is below this video in the description. What's your website for the audience? I have a radio show, so they can't see it. Do you want to tell them?
ChristLightAndLove.com.
Thank you, Devin, for joining us on University Galactus. Thank you kindly.
Well, I'm I wish you wouldn't have been in such an argumentative mood today, but hey, that's where it is. Everybody. Hey, everybody, if it's
too much stevia in my coffee. Too much stevia in my coffee. If I have less stevia, I'll be less argument. I did say to you, I plan to do a series of 3 videos with you, right? 3 videos? What?
Yeah, Brian, if you put any of this out, I'm just gonna call it for what it is. This was a waste. This was nothing. Like this is. I've never been in an interview where I'd say no, trash the interview, but I'd say, yeah, trash this interview.
But I thought you were quite articulate.
But you don't want a free open forum. You're playing games here.
I don't think I'm playing games. I'm listening to you. I'm just quiet. You're talking more than I am.
Huh. Okay. Well, again, I appreciate, you were supposed to come on my show. If you still want to come on, you can. You still got a place.
No, I do. I want to do 3 videos with you.
Because, Brian, this is the difference. When I have you on my show, I'm not going to talk over you, and I'm going to let you speak your piece. Then at the end, if there's anything that you've said, which I just simply do not agree with, I'll let my audience know. But I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm not going to try to.
Oh, see, we didn't have those ground rules sorted out. So those will be the ground rules from now on. I won't talk over you.
Yeah, reach out to me if you want to come on my channel, but the interview will be completely different. I let you talk, and then that's how it is.
Well, how about later this week? Today's Tuesday.
Yeah, no, Brian. What I'll probably do is.
How about next week? How about next Tuesday?
Now, what I'll do is I'll see what you do with this. You can do it what you want with it because I can't control that.
Okay, I will.
I'll
use your words. I'll do what you say. I will do what I want with it. You said that. I'll do that. Yeah, thank you kindly.
But this interview is trash, and I think it had an agenda at the get-go. So.
Well, like I said, I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I did have an agenda. Can I tell you what it was?
I'm not talking.
I had an agenda, absolutely. When I met you, when I first saw you, I thought, this guy Devin, he's not a troll. He has some thoughtfulness about him. And you said you wanted me to have you on your show. So within a week, I wrote back to you and said yes. And you didn't respond for weeks.
No,
I pursued you. I went onto your website and I invited you, and then later you got back to me.
You went on my website.
The first one to ask to be on my show.
You went on my website. You went on my website.
Yeah, I did.
No, not my website.
I left you a comment on your website. I left you a comment. It says comment section.
Huh. Never got it.
Well, anyways, you and I eventually got in touch after you did a video with Panabasta without my knowledge. So I invited you on my show. And we decided to do a video together.
Yeah.
So I did have an agenda. I haven't told you my agenda yet. My agenda was you're in Kentucky. You're not a formal Christian, but you're kind of more expansive Christian idea. I thought this would be a good comparison. Me being a Buddhist in your worldview for University Galactus, I thought that would be an interesting thing for our audience. That was my agenda.
No, I think it was promoting that book.
Well, of course I'm reporting my book. That's not a hidden agenda. It's
No,
quite an
not
obvious
your
agenda.
book.
I do this
Not
all the
your book.
time.
Not your book, her book.
Yeah, it was clearly. Actually, I didn't think about it. I just do this all the time. It wasn't like I had an agenda. I just, as you can see from my previous 53 videos, I often hold it.
No, I mean you only brought the book up 20 times, so I see it. No,
yeah,
Brian,
well, I'm different. Susie Hansen's my #1 favorite human being in this community, so that's why I do that.
I don't listen to one
UFO
authority
community.
figure. I don't listen to one authority figure to tell me how the world turns. You know, I have my own experiences and I make my own sense of it all.
Well, I don't listen to one. I listen to Jeff Silver as well. I don't have one authority figure.
Well, again, you won't answer me on whether or not you've had an experience with a gray alien. So,
Well, no, I did answer the other quite thoroughly. I answered that question.
no, that you comped out is what you did.
Well, in your view, but these are the traditions of Thailand, Burma, and Sri Lanka. These are our traditions for 2,500 years.
Huh. Ain't that convenient?
Yes, it's convenient. Oh my God, it is so convenient.
All right, Brian. Hey, you know what? With this being a center, there's a lot of stuff going on. 30 acres doesn't tend to itself, so you know I'm going to have to run here.
Okay, my friend.
You know, I appreciate you having me on. I hope you don't totally, you know, just edit the crap out of this. You be blessed. You be good. Hey, get that throat chakra checked out by a real shaman. Because you've got something attached to you there, bud. You be good.
Okay, my friend. Thank you. Bye now.